You're tuning in to Why We're Here, honest conversations about companies worth joining, with Amit Matani, CEO of Wellfound.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Why Work Here series, where we talk to founders, executives, and team members on why their companies are worth joining. Today we have Vishal, founding team member and CPO of Typeface. Vishal, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. Really excited to be here and talk about Typeface and AI and what it means to be working at Typeface.
Awesome. You know, one of the things that I found most interesting about Typeface is how quickly you guys have scaled. Like, you were founded in 2022, it's 2025, you're a $1 billion company already. Tell me a little bit of the founding story, how it all came to be and how you guys are growing so fast.
Yeah, that's an amazing point here. Like, if you think about this is now 2022. This is where ChatGPT has not quite come out. Our founder, Abhay, he's an ex-CPO and CTO at Adobe. So he used to lead a large swath of marketing platform at Adobe. And if you just kind of see what is happening in that world, Gen AI is just kind of showing its head. And if you look at the last 10 years of what happened in the data space, there's been a massive shift, right? We went from silo databases to now these databases talk to each other with the advent of Snowflake and Databricks, to you getting real-time data, to apps being rewritten to utilize real-time data. However, the way we do content is still kind of where data was 10 years ago, right? We still operate in silos within a company. We still kind of take content and go to an agency. There's a long lead time to create content. And almost every marketer you talk to will tell you, I don't have enough content. So there was something there. We knew there's some disruption needed in that space. So what we were missing was a technology anchor. And when generative AI came in, it was very clear now computer can start doing right brain things, not just left brain things.
Yeah.
So we were like, this seems like the right opportunity. So Abhay founded this company, and the whole idea was, can we actually disrupt this content creation space and give everyone personalized content when they need it? So on-demand personalized content. So that's how we started the company. And of course, ChatGPT came out a few months later. And that created a lot of tailwind for the entire industry all up, right? So, and I think that gave us the opportunity to scale really fast. So in a way, they created a market, and in a lot of ways, we are now the enterprise version here, which is kind of deeply understands what your company does and helps you create personalized content, which we'll talk more about.
It's really cool. I jumped the gun a little bit. I like taking a step back. Tell me a little bit about what the company does today. Kind of what are the core offerings and stuff?
Yeah, no. So I think so at the highest level, I mean, if you look at the marketers, right? So everybody wants more personalized content. Now you can very easily tell what everybody is doing in your platform, your websites, your apps. But then when you want to reach with them with personalized content, you're always content constrained. So at the heart of it, what Typeface does is we do enterprise content at scale. So we want to give you any piece of content whenever you want it, so that you can tell the story you really wanted to tell and reach the audience in the right way you can. So that's the fundamental belief, where instead of being a scarcity world to an abundance world in terms of content. That's kind of what we're going for, right? So,
and then like tactically, like what does that look like? You know, when an enterprise signs up, they want to produce content. Like, what are the products that you guys are delivering to help them do that?
Yeah, good question. So I think from that perspective, if you look at this, we are actually, I should have mentioned this in my previous answer as well. We are primarily tracking large enterprises. So we are not an SMB solution or a lower end solution in terms of the market segment. So what that means is enterprises need a pretty robust platform, and there are lots of things that go into it beyond even just the capabilities, which we'll talk a lot about, like the security, the responsible AI parts of it, which we can talk more about. But at the highest level, we have three components in Typeface. One is what we call Brand Hub, which you think of it as the platform, the core platform. So this platform, essentially we go talk to an enterprise and say, hey, you can connect your existing marketing automation systems to Typeface, whether it's your DAM, your CDPs, which is basically where your customer data is, your asset management system, your CMS is where your websites are. Then Typeface takes all this content in and learns the DNA of your brand. So, which is now, we feel, and after we've done this, we feel we are at a point where we can actually create a personalized piece of content, which will always be on brand. And what is personalization at that point of time? So you want to reach a particular audience in a particular geo on a particular channel. So how do we capture the nuances of all these three things, right? Geo is more than language, like cultural nuances, differences, right? And that's right. Where once we understand your brand, we can now create all this content. So that's kind of the core platform. Then, of course, we are in the world of AI. Very hard to create a lot of content manually by sitting and doing one click at a time. So you need an automation layer, which is kind of what the agentic aspect of our platform is. So we call it Arc Agents. So these then leverage the brand and then can create a lot of content at scale. And finally, now if you imagine this, if your role as a marketer is now you're working with a bunch of AI agents who are also creating content for you, you need to collaborate with them. You need to see what they did. You need to be able to contribute to it, bring the human in the loop aspect, fix any mistakes they made. So you need a fundamental rethink of the interface in which you do this. So we have spaces. So those are the three big components of Typeface. So understand your brand, create content, automate creation of content, and enable the humans to work alongside AI agents in a collaborative space, which is Spaces.
Give me an example of like, I'm a marketer, I'm on the platform, and you've ingested my brand. What is the types of like queries that I'm going to be making, or like what are the tasks that I'm going to be giving the agents?
Yeah. So the three primary channels we focus on today. So one-to-one messaging, which is usually email and messaging. So anytime you get an email from the brand you like, somebody is creating those emails, somebody's orchestrating them in some system and sending those out. And all the ads you see on social platforms and paid ad platforms and other sites, that's the second vertical. And third is web. Any website you interact with on any kind of, when you search, you get the relevant results top of the Google search for you, those kind of things. Those are the three channels we primarily focus on. So let's just say, largely most of our customers still operate as if they were different teams. Obviously, AI can change all of that, and we can talk about that if we go there. Now, imagine you're an email marketer. So what you will do is you will usually have an email automation system already, where you'll say, I want to actually send 3 emails to a prospective buyer, do XYZ in the first email, do ABC in the second email, and then do something third to just try to hopefully land them as a customer, right? Now, this requires you to now send 3 emails. And now imagine I have lots of users I need to send it to.
Right.
So what you will do is you'll come to Typeface now. So your audience platform is already connected, which is what we usually call CDPs in the marketing world. So your CDP now brings all the audience segment information. And you just say, I want to create a promotional campaign for 4 out of 5 segments or 100 out of 101 segments, whichever it is. And then Typeface will then take any kind of material you provided in terms of, like, here is my brief, here is what I'm trying to do, here is a product I'm trying to sell, and then create emails for this entire set of 100 odd peak segments in the languages they care about at scale and give you this content back. And then if you like it, you can proofread it. You may not do everything. We'll give you some confidence scores. And then once you like it, you can just say publish. It'll go back to your email orchestration system, and your orchestration can just happen as it is happening today. So in a way, you take your agency, which in today's world, and an agency is loosely used here. It's not like it could be internal team, copywriting teams and all that, which is offline and disconnected, and you actually make it online and connected. So in this case, you are now having a seamless automation system where you can now produce content at scale.
That's very cool. So tell me, I'm really interested in your story because you were at Microsoft for a really long time, held some really senior roles, and also you're the founders of the company, also kind of in similar situations, pretty high up in large enterprises. 2 things that I'm really interested. One is like, what kind of gave you the conviction that starting at a really small company kind of made sense for your career? Like, how did you come to that conclusion?
I'll tell you about my journey, and then happy to talk about Abhay's journey as well a little bit. But from my perspective, as you said, big companies for 22 years, 19 of those at Microsoft. Love that company, been very nice to me. But last 15 of those 19 years, I was doing 0 to 1. So build teams from scratch, build products from scratch, scale them to be big things, and then move on to doing the next thing. And I was always working on things that were around the corner. I'm a builder at heart. So that's what I enjoy doing. And I love ambiguous problems. And it was very clear at certain level. I think you mentioned this left brain, right brain thing. To me, the aha moment for AI was now it can do right brain things. So far we can do data crunching, data analysis, which is largely left brain problems, and that's great. I'm also a hobbyist photographer. So to me, this blend of creativity and technology is now actually opening a brand new chapter. And we can talk about the ambition and the TAM and all that kind of stuff in a second. But that, to me, the fundamental belief that this is where I want to be was very clear. So I had to do something. And now 19 years at Microsoft is a really long time. I had a little bit of a personal clock ticking. I don't want to be 20 years because then you get a giant crystal at Microsoft.
Sure.
But to me, it was like, what do I do next? So, and then I met Abhay, and both of us really hit it off. Like, to me, he had a grand ambition for where this could be, which met my ambition from this. We actually thought it's a very ambiguous problem. We don't know where we will go with this. We are both of us were at a point in time in our career where we don't need to work for the sake of working. We need to work because we want to make a difference. So I think that at least clicked for us. And then the space by itself is amazing, right? To me, as I said earlier, opens up the aperture by a massive margin, and then it's really like the ripe for disruption. So those are some of the elements.
Yeah.
And whether we were on the right track or not, I mean, at least there's conviction. Once you are doing 0 to 1, you build certain level of conviction. You're wrong quite often, but you build some conviction that this is the right thing to do and something is going to happen here. But really, I think this is where I credit ChatGPT really, and that happened, and then the pace at which this happened is kind of. I mean, I had not anticipated that, so that's positive surprise for me. Otherwise, it would have been a slower pace thing, but now it is like you literally blink and you miss stuff. That's the kind of, and I thoroughly enjoyed my last 3 years. I mean, my conviction has played out, and much better than I would have even hoped. So I'll be honest about that.
One of the interesting things is like, we have a lot of people on our platform, for example, they're like, oh, I want to be a founder, or I want to, be a founding engineer. But like at this point, I don't want to quit my kind of day job. For you, was there kind of a process before you met Abhay? Like, did you like look at a bunch of companies? Was this kind of a chance meeting? Like, how did that kind of initial, like, hey, this is going to be something that I want to do in my career come up?
So I think one thing I was very sure about is I've done big companies for a really long time. So they're at a crossroads, and I actually did evaluate pretty much. I'm like a very analytical person, so I did evaluate all 3 options: late stage startups, doing my own thing, and then early stage startups. Through this process, I was talking to some of the late stage startups. I realized like that's not where I enjoy the most. Like, I mean, to me at that point of time, you are scaling in a very different way. To me, I really try to get into early innings and then just kind of build things from scratch. That's where I am in my zone, if I may, right? So, and to me, it was very clear that the 2 options are start something of your own and then or join a startup super early stage. And that's where I was more leaning on doing my own thing. But once I met Abhay, this is where the chemistry part of it, you are anyways going to do it with somebody. It's not that you're going to do it by yourself, right? And when there's such a big chemistry, we must have spent like 18 hours just chatting about stuff. Like, I think to me, and when you get that kind of chemistry, I mean, you better try it out, right? I mean, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't. But here I am 3 years later.
Awesome. So it's also really interesting. So you've done kind of 0 to 1 in a big company with kind of all the resources it still has. Now you've done 0 to 1, at like a startup where it was true 0 to 1. Can you tell me kind of how it's been different? Like, has it been more the same than different? Or has it more different than the same? I'd love to kind of hear that.
It's like a lot of people ask me that question. So it's similar in the ways where it's a very ambiguous space. It's not clear what is to be done. And it is like really on you to make something out of it. It's not like the larger machinery kind of helps you in the conceptualization phase and all that. So it's similar in those ways. But it's very different in other ways. Like now imagine, and this is, by the way, as I said earlier, love Microsoft is not a dig on Microsoft. It's just generally the environment of a big company where if you're sitting on a table and everybody around you is running $1 billion business and you are trying to do incubations, where is the mind space going to be? Like the mind space is largely going to be around like, how do I increase my revenue and all that? And then you are doing the thing, and there are people who have conviction in that thing, but you're not everybody is kind of working to make you successful at that point of time, right? You are kind of a little bit carving out your own thing, which is challenging and is nice on its own. And I have done that. So I feel like you can do that in a big company. But when it came to startup, and this is what my belief was, which is also played out, no, all of you either succeed or you don't succeed. There is no question of 4 people on the table have different priorities, right? It just doesn't matter. And that is very refreshing. There is no convincing, there is no discussion. You just kind of go run, right? I think that has been very different. And it's almost like, I would say, in a lot of ways, it's easier to do a startup in a startup. Of course, you don't get the distribution, you don't get the scale, but which is where at least one of the advantages Typeface has is because of the kind of leadership team we have actually the connections and all that kind of stuff. So that you asked another question earlier, and maybe we get to it later, is how are you able to scale so fast? Part of this is all this network you unlock, right? We know a lot of people in big companies. So we have deep partnerships with Microsoft, Salesforce, Google now. And that just helps you create a distribution channels, and the fast growth comes from some of that stuff, which is harder for people who haven't been there and done that, right? So that usually plays to your advantage. So that's where the benefit of working in large companies, having a network actually helps you. Not that you can't do without it, but it just helps you. And it just kind of makes it easier to pave that path. So.
Oh, that's really interesting. So like one of the big ways that you got early distribution is like, hey, we know the people at these companies because we've been there so long, and we can kind of sell into them a little bit or easier, or they'll pilot with us a little bit faster than you would if you were some random no-name startup.
I think it just opens the doors for you easier. It just doesn't mean that you're going to get it because of connections. I mean, you have to have a story, you have to have a vision, you have to have the product truth, but at least it gives you the option to have a discussion with somebody,
That's
which
really
is very hard, right? Otherwise.
Yeah. Tell me about the company you all are trying to build. Like beyond the ambition of where you want to go, like what is the team you want to build? What is the culture you want to build? I'd love to learn a little bit more and dive into that.
And I think, and some of this you might already be sensing from the conversation so far. One thing which is very high for us and at the company is authenticity. I'm going to start there. I mean, I know it could be a thing you can say applies to everything, but to me, we really want to be authentic to ourselves, and everybody should be. So, in the sense that it's not about pretending to be something else or trying to kind of go for the growth just for the sake of growth. I mean, we should really find where we are good at and then just kind of embrace that and do that good job. So, I know none of us are consumer DNA, so we're not going to go do consumer now. So, this authenticity shows up in multiple different dimensions. And then the other two things I will say is, and they're somewhat related, ownership and moving fast. We almost overcorrect ourselves all the time because Abhay came from a big company, I came from a big company. One paranoia we have, healthy paranoia, is are we moving fast enough? And the answer almost always is no. We are moving very fast if you look at it from the outside in perspective,
Sure.
but we kind of are always glass half empty from that perspective. So how do we move fast? Are we making sure we are making decisions fast? Do we have a sense of ownership? If there is something not clear, who is going to create clarity? Like just kind of this fast decision making process, strong sense of ownership, which comes from a place of moving really fast. Because speed is I would say, the only weapon a startup has. And if you can't leverage that, then you're kind of running a fight which you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, that's paramount. And then the other thing is growth mindset. Like I think all of us are unlearning in a lot of ways. Like AI is not even big company, small company. It's not. I mean, AI requires you to unlearn.
Yep.
Things that work in the non-AI world are not going to linearly apply to the AI world. I mean, if you try to do that, you will actually fail. And building a Gen AI native platform has actually taught us a lot of that. Like some of the fundamental assumptions have to be challenged. And the last thing I would say is we've embraced this as a company from day one is your opinions are great, mine are better, but at the end of the day, only person that matters is the customer, right? So, and
Sure.
if they are not right, then nobody matters, right? So to me, that is kind of the core spirit is like the only way to measure impact is making a customer happy. And we embrace that front and center. So, and then the other thing, as you would think, AI first, which is definitely the case,
Sure.
but we can talk more about that. So,
yeah, I think one of the things that I'd love to hear is kind of what are the anti-values then, right? Because everybody tells me moving fast is important, ownership is important. What are you trading off for that? Like, how are you able to achieve that?
Yeah, I think to me, there is a genuine problem, right? In the way this, and I'm going to talk generically about space before I talk about Typeface. And I tell my team this, if you're not going to ship something in 3 months, you should really evaluate if you want to even work on that. Like to me, the problem is you wake up and things have changed around you. So if you're going to take 6 months to ship something or build something, I mean, you should really evaluate if somebody else is going to do it faster and better than you, right?
Right.
This concept of thoroughness, thoughtfulness, and all that is still relevant. So you should pause, but you can't ruminate and kind of discuss things for many, many weeks and months to perfect it and then go ship it. So this kind of, you almost need to kind of show rather than discuss, right? So and things will work, things won't work. It's okay to break glass a little bit here because I think everybody is learning, not just us as companies. Customers are also learning. They're learning how to use AI. And sometimes it's not clear, right? I mean, unless you see something, play with it, it's not clear. So I can have all the debates I want in a room and I'll still get it wrong. So I might as well get it out there faster and work with our customer, which I said is the most important set of category of people for us, and work with them and figure out what doesn't work and tailor it, right? So we have built our UI experience a third time now in the last 3 years. And it's a fundamental shift. It's not like a small incremental change here and there. And that's okay. Like I think we've learned and we have actually challenged the status quo, and now we feel good about where we are, but that's not going to feel the same 3 months from now. So that I think that agility has the other antithesis of like thoroughness and getting it absolutely right, which we are not going to get in this world. At least I actually strongly believe that.
So quickly, just tactically, what I'd love to kind of understand is like we have an idea, customer idea or something. How does that idea go from someone's head to actually shipped code? Like just broadly, what does that look like in Typeface?
Yeah, actually, I use a very pertinent question, a very timely question. One of the things we are actually collectively pushing at Typeface is how do we embrace a lot more AI in everything we do. So I'll give you an example of a good case where that happened. So, I mean, there's usually silos in any company. Like there's not silos in the traditional sense, but they're functional things, right? There PM does the spec, engineer does the code. I think we want to break through all of that. So an example of this could be if somebody has an idea. Now it's like writing a spec is harder than just opening up Claude Code and Lovable or Bolt or whichever else and just doing a quick proof of concept and nailing those finely tuned interaction, right? It's not going to be pixel perfectness, but at least show what your idea is rather than just writing a spec in some corner somewhere. So that, and then at that point of time, from going from there to the engineering part of this code, once again has to use a ton of more AI, right? So that's really the process which used to take like weeks or months can now be done in a matter of days and hours, honestly. So we, for example, have embraced AI pretty actively in the company over the last few months. I think there's been an aha moment with tools like Cloud Code now, which actually allow you to do a lot of these things. It's faster than even having discussions about these things. You can actually play with it and try things out. So from a feature, when it comes in, that's kind of what we do. You still need rigor with these tools. If you just kind of, I mean, they are like, they can be like loose cannons and you can fire all over the place. But if you want to kind of do the right thing with them, you still need to think. So,
Yep.
And a PM spec could be now a prompt into a Cloud Code, which spits out even a spec for you if you wanted to spit out a spec, and then it writes the code for you. When you're writing code, component level architecture is still important. So it's not like you can just kind of write random code, and testing is still important. So we embrace some of those concepts, but then the velocity of from when we get an idea to when we can put it out there is extremely fast now because of all of these things.
So last thing, what's the elevator pitch? Why should somebody join Typeface? Why is Typeface a great place to work?
I think that I know you asked me for an elevator pitch. I'm going to give you a little bit longer answer if you bear with me.
Sure.
So to me, first, I would urge everyone to get involved with AI. Like, forget Typeface for a second. I think AI is such a transformational shift. And of course, I have drank the Kool-Aid, so I'm allowed to say this. And now when you come to Typeface, why work with us? We are really building a 10x opportunity. What we see today, like even if you look at it, and I think this was covered in a bunch of keynotes recently as well, it's not the software industry all up is $650 billion, but the people industry is about $10 trillion. And that's the massive opportunity we have to kind of make more efficient, and disrupt. And that's what we are going after. So very high ambition, well-funded, strong leadership team, and a very strong set of customers. And if you want to do that and move fast and learn new things on the fly, then this is the place for you.
That's really awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vishal, for joining us. If people want to learn more about Typeface, where should they go?
I mean, we have a website, typeface.ai. Should definitely go there. We're also going to publish our job listings at Wellfound. So you can obviously find us there and then kind of reach out to us to that model as well. So
awesome. Thanks, Vishal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to Why Work Here. Ready to find your next role or discover top talent? Visit us at wellfound.com.